suckers.
Okay, so now we're on April 18th, 2022.
Yeah, but I am tripping.
Remember these? Remember I said it was going to get a mate? Well, here's the mate. Right? I really like these Crocs. So I'm very happy. This one here, I basically kind of pawned it off on my son, and so he can learn to make kimchi. So this one's going to end up going downstairs more than likely today because I don't have a lot of workspace. Okay. And at one point through this process, I had to add in a little bit more brine. It wasn't water, it was brine. Okay, it was like a quart to a teaspoon of salt or something like that. Anyway, I divided it between the two because it had started to evaporate, right? Everything was fine. My son came up a couple days ago. It wasn't even like 2 days ago. And we were talking, and, you know, I offered for him to use this to learn how to make kimchi, and he wanted to see the fermented cabbage. So we opened it up, okay? So, hold on. Hold on. Okay, because it's all a learning process, right? So we opened it up, and we looked inside. Now, I've been kind of pushing for the 5-week mark for the fermentation, just because I was working with that online recipe, right? Okay. Now remember, my eyes are kind of like bugging under these lights, okay? I'm waiting for the referral for the specialist. It's been a week now, people. Okay? And what I'm noticing here,
we're gonna have to come together.
Something's happened.
And you know, we the only
because when I opened it 2 days ago, it wasn't like this.
We the same.
Okay, now mind you, I'm going to talk about the two different fermenters. This is your standard crock. Okay, modern day, doesn't have lead in the paint. Okay, and you can put a lot in here. Then this is a water fermenter, but if you notice, there's no water in it. So this could be why this is happening. Okay? Now, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I wonder if that will... No, that won't work. Okay, hold on. I'm going to move these. Hold on. And then, don't forget, I did a lot of... you know, I was rolling out the egg noodle, right? So there's a lot of flour around here. Okay? Okay, so I think the first lesson is, when it comes to a water fermenter, if you're going to use it, make sure you have water in there. Okay, because the water is the barrier for the molds and the bacteria, whatever is floating around in your air, to get into it, right? This one here is a different kind of system. But anyway, what I'm seeing here, do you see? Me too. What that mean too? Okay. Now, you're looking at two different things here. I think you're looking at that natural mold. It has a name for it. That's white and very thin. And then I think what we're getting in here are fruit flies. Yeah. Because there's no water in here, people. I thought that might be little mold specks, but I think those are fruit flies that crawled in because there was not that barrier. Although this white that you see can be normal on fermenting. Now, this was full of black mold. You definitely don't want to do anything with it. Okay? Right. Now, this only happened in the last couple of days. Because when my son and I looked at it, it didn't look like this. Okay. So you take that off. Now, because this has already been going on for a while now, I think I'm going to can what I can. Right? And I'm going to water bath it because I guess fermented cabbage is the one vegetable when fermented that you can water bath. Okay.
mistreats you.
Or I could pressure can
Well,
it.
in my
I'm not sure
opinion,
yet.
you got the once
Right?
they mistreat you,
I'm
you
going to
got
go
the
double
right to
check
say
the
whatever you
recipe.
want to say.
I might
That's
Google
vice
a few
versa.
other things. So this
That's
this
vice
white
versa.
film,
Like
you
old
know,
girl had every
it's
right
you
to
know,
go in on me.
that is a yeast mold, which
Lady
is
from the Bronx,
normal.
Bronx girl, yeah, that's
But
my
what I'm
name.
noticing here
She had every
is
right to go in on me.
the
But you know,
brine
I bothered her
has
with a
changed color.
thumbnail,
Well, it didn't change
just
color.
like B.
It got
People in my
cloudy.
comments, I see you in
But
other
that
people
could be
in the
because
enemy's comments.
of the
In the
fermenting
enemy's
process, right?
comments. People that say that, I
Okay.
got to look at them strange.
So, I don't know. What
Because,
do?
like you
Take
said,
everything out and pour it into a bowl,
Malcolm X wasn't looking at
right?
us like we was the
See what you
enemy.
get, right?
Back then,
I
we
think so,
wasn't
eh?
the enemy. We was a unit. We was trying to be a unit until the drugs
So
came
take
out.
off all that surface
Yeah,
stuff.
man.
And
A
as for
lot of
this
people
other stuff,
don't want to be great. Some people need to be in
yeah,
jail.
I
Some
think
people
it's
need to die.
fruit flies got
And
in
some
there
people, you know, is in the
because I
grave.
didn't
I don't, you know, they're in the way.
I didn't use
You know, they be in their own way.
the water.
Say that for the
So if
fact.
you ever
They
use
be
a
in
water
their
fermenter,
own way.
I don't know, check it all the time.
In their own way.
That's my advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A woman just asked me,
Right?
she the type of letter, let me shut up. Let me shut up. Now,
Because
that's
sooner
my
or later the
business.
water is going to
That's
evaporate.
my
And you
business.
see some of the cabbage busted
Especially if they
through
get
from
a
under the
favor
weight.
from me.
Because I'm scooping it up,
That's
right?
my
You can
business.
see.
It was my
So, you
business
know, that is always a
to make
conductor
sure
because you
that,
want everything
you know,
under
I
the
tell
water.
them when they go out the door, I already
Right?
know what you want.
Well,
I already,
brine.
if I
It's
tell
not
you,
water. It's brine.
so my
Hold on a
son was
minute.
in the mix.
Okay, so this is my decision.
So
I decided that I'm going to see if
I'm gonna
I
help
can this
Yeah.
one. Because if you
Definitely
notice, look how
gonna help
nice and clear it is, people.
I'm gonna
Okay?
help whoever
Right?
got something
And,
to say to
you know, you could come in there and, right,
Of
before
course,
it gets
this
out of
is
control and ferment it longer and,
stay
you know,
silent.
keep it topped off.
Talk about
If you notice this one here,
according to the
it has just teeny weeny little nicks, just enough to let
speak your
air
truth.
out, but for whatever
So
reason, the fruit flies couldn't
I'm
get
gonna
in.
speak my truth.
Okay?
But I
Now, if
definitely
you
got
ferment, if you
Rob
try
got
and
a
make
problem
vinegar,
too.
like
So
apple
y'all,
cider vinegar,
I see them
okay?
purple hearts and things and such.
Oh, fruit flies love that,
She
and they'll find
definitely
it,
got a
people.
problem too. She got a
Okay?
big problem.
You know, so
Yeah,
fruit
if
flies
that's
will do
what I
that,
don't know what
depending
the
on, I
hearts
guess, the
mean.
foods that you
Salute to you
ferment.
for
Now, I'm not
putting
no
up.
expert,
Miss
but
D, Miss me,
I think,
and
however this is
Miss
designed,
Nature, Libra by nature.
I don't know. I'm not going to salvage
Yeah,
this one
yeah.
because when I stick my
Honor
nose to it, I can smell mold.
my
Mold.
own leader.
Okay, I got a pretty good nose for mold.
I'm
So that's the first
I'm a
thing.
leader
Now,
of
whether
my family,
it's,
and sometimes they leave me.
I'm not sure where it's coming from in terms of I
That's not a
don't
good
necessarily
question.
see it
Speak
outside of what I skimmed off
your
thinking what I'm
truth.
thinking it is.
See, you got to go, 'cause, you know.
But it's the idea that
And I hope you're not a female. See, I don't like women talking like that.
it's the idea
I
that
don't like that. I don't like that. I don't
that
like it. I ain't never
the
liked
water
it.
clouded up very
It
quickly.
ain't never happened.
This other
Except,
one
you know, my baby mama, my first baby mama.
is
I'm
it's
telling
almost
her business
neutral,
too.
right? You'd have to taste it in order to tell if that's the way that you'd want it to taste as a
I am
sauerkraut.
like Miss
But I don't
Yolanda.
want to
I
go in
don't
there and
care
start
if
poking
no
with
one
utensils and
behind me.
everything. I
I'm
think
always
I'm just
doing
going
what's
to
right.
take it out of the crock,
Miss Yolanda.
right? Take a good look at it, smell it,
Salute to
right?
Miss Yolanda.
Taste it.
Salute to
If I
you.
like it, I'm going to put it in a bowl and then I'm going to put it
You
in the
know, they're the
fridge
only ones really get
just
a
to,
pass for me.
right?
Miss
And then I'm going to
Yolanda
get
at
my
my
jars
law
ready and I'm going to
school.
can it. Where this one, I think, would
That's
be
it,
better suited
girl.
for the
Let
garden.
me go to this YouTube shit.
I have to get out into the dirt and enrich the dirt anyway,
Grind
people.
is
So
very
so what I'm trying to say is
complicated,
if
in
you
my
don't feel
opinion.
comfortable
But
with
that's
it,
your opinion.
just let it go and start it over
Very
again, right?
I didn't say she
And
wasn't
in this
competent.
situation, because I am
I
smelling
say,
a
you
bit of
know,
mold, even though I don't necessarily see
is it
the
true
harmful
some
mold,
women
right? Because you can have fermentation with a surface mold that, you know, if you miss a day or two of skimming, especially when it's in that fermenting stage, right? You know, you can get away with it. But this has been sitting here for a long time. And whatever happened, like I said, I didn't see, when my son and I, we looked at it, and, you know, it was clear, right? And I didn't see what I seen today. And because it happened so fast, and, you know, it's not so much the fruit flies that are bothering me that got in there, as it is the mold smell. And it's, you know, it's getting kind of funky. So if you ever use a water fermenter, always make sure that you've got water in there. Okay? So that one I am going to put into my garden as I start getting out there with the pitchfork and getting the ground ready for something to grow, that is. Right? So that's what we're going to do with that. And then clear this out in here. And then I think, just for fun, as usual. Yeah, people can say that online. And it, you know, being that everybody's saying Happy Easter. Right, it's Easter. I'm thinking to start a couple of 2, 3, maybe 4 jars of Easter egg dye, specifically designed for Ukrainian Easter eggs, which is different than children's Easter eggs, right? And tell myself that no matter how wiggly I'm seeing things, I can draw a straight line on an egg with a, oh, there's a name for them. I can't remember what their names are called in the Ukrainian language. Kishka or something like that. I don't know. It's something. It's the pen that you use with the beeswax to draw the line that when you put in between the different dyes, it preserves the color that you covered up with the beeswax. And then at the end, you melt the beeswax off the egg, you rub everything off, and then that's when you have your egg with the design. So I don't know. I don't have time for it, but, you know, I don't have time not to do it too, because if I even have 4 jars, get Andre to do a couple of eggs, right? I don't know if Alea May can do a couple of eggs, but Tisha might be able to help her do a couple of eggs. And then, you know, you never know, right? So we'll see what happens with that, but hold on. Okay, so I just took it out of that water fermenting crock and put it in the strainer, let all the whatever liquid drain out, right? Honestly, I don't think this is quote unquote bad, right? But you know, gardens like stuff like this, so. I will attempt to do this again, probably in this crock, after I empty out this crock. Okay, because I like the look of this one better, okay? I didn't like what was going on, and I didn't like the fact that I was starting to smell, quote-unquote, actual mold, right? And don't forget, mold travels, okay? I mean, if I was to put this in a pressure canner, right, in you know, pint-sized jars at, I don't know, 60 minutes, I'd probably kill off anything if it was dangerous, but I personally don't think that there's anything wrong with this, because it was just starting on the surface, and I'm smelling it, and it kind of smells like sauerkraut, but anyway, garden food. Okay, so I'm not taking this out of the crock until I'm ready to put it into jars. I'm going to use what liquid is available. I would think you'd have to top it off with a little more brine. I don't think you would use plain water. You know, so you fill up your jars, distribute whatever liquid you have left in between the jars. You're going to see some jars are going to be less on liquid than other jars. You're going to have to top it off one way or another. So I would suggest probably topping it off with a brine, right? I guess it's either 1 quart with a teaspoon of salt or 1 quart to 1 tablespoon of salt. I'll let you know. And then water bath it. You can water bath this. You don't have to pressure can it. Although maybe I should pressure can it. I always was a little reluctant to can sauerkraut, but it can be done. So we're going to work on this one today. Okay, we're going to get this out of here so that maybe I can bring in some dyes and we can play around with some Easter eggs for a while. Hold on. Okay, so I'm trying to muster myself up for this here. So apparently it's got to ferment for about 4 weeks at least. Okay, so I went back into my videos and it turns out that I actually did that on March 9th. Now with the water fermenting crock, I think we know what I did wrong. It's really important that you keep that water there. Okay, otherwise it's just going to be an invitation for fruit flies. Okay, because those were fruit flies. All right. Unless, of course, you want to take some cheesecloth, cover it up, and then put that on with water. But after a while, even the cheesecloth is going to get funky sitting in water like that. Okay, so I don't know. I've used this water crock 2 times. The first time, or was it 3 times? I don't know. When I did those cucumbers, now mind you, I bought them from an Asian store that gets a lot of their produce from Asia. And it wasn't, you know, it was an odd time of the year. And now, mind you, they fermented okay in terms of taste. And I eat them, and, you know, I did a video on that, but they're soft, okay? And that's probably in part because of the type of cucumber they were in regards to the time of year and probably from where they were imported from. A lot of variables in there, right? Now, this cabbage actually came from the same store, Asian, you know, shipped in from China, those kind of produce, right? I wasn't really up for buying it, but, you know, and I actually did buy a couple of other cabbages from other places. I had a whole bunch of cabbage. Anyway, we did the video, and it didn't look like that, like in that water fermenter. It didn't look like that a couple, 2-3 days ago when my son and I were talking about the crock that I'm letting him use for his kimchi, right, so that he can learn, right? But it quickly changed to the point where it's probably okay in terms of after I emptied it out and everything, but I'm not desperate, right? This is all trial and error anyway, is to learn. That's the point of what I'm doing. So I'm satisfied with the 1 crock. Now, I did Google canning home fermented sauerkraut, and I came up with this National Center for Home Food Preservation, preparing and canning fermented foods. This specifically talks about cabbage. I'll provide the link. When you're making it, if you needed an extra brine, it was 1.5 teaspoons of salt per quart of water. So I'm going to take a quart of water and add in 1.5 teaspoons of salt, boil it up, right? As I take what's in this crock, and I'm going to put it into a pot, okay? I have to go downstairs and get a pot. I took my big pot downstairs, a big one, that I made the ghee in, which I'm probably going to need again, but no, I'm going to try maybe a different pot. Anyway, and then I took my other pot, big pot downstairs. So I'm going to have to go get another freaking pot, man. That's all I do, up and down the stairs every couple of weeks. Okay. And then once I get the big pot up, I'm going to pour everything that's in that crock into the pot, and I'm going to heat it up, bring it to a boil, I guess, fill up my sterilized jars. I have to sterilize them because I am going to use a water bath, because it says here you can use a water bath. Now, you can't water bath each and every fermented food, but with cabbage, apparently you can do so, and that's why we're trying it out. Okay? And being that it's been sitting there for 5 weeks or so, right? It should have had enough time to do what it needs to do. So it's going in basically as is. And then I've got the little extra brine if I need it to top off, because you have to have that liquid, okay, after you're done filling your jars, okay? I can't, I don't know what the headspace is here, but add plate, okay, that's when it's fermenting. My temperatures in the house are actually quite cool. Now, it did go through that first initial fermenting stage with the bubbles and all that, but you know, it hasn't been a strong fermenting after the fact, because not only at night does the house get really cool because you turn down the heat, but you know, it fluctuates throughout the day. Like, you know, I've got a t-shirt, got a sweater, got another sweater, you know, and my hands are freezing, so you do the math, okay? But it's been long enough. It's not going to do much more than what it's already done, I would think. Right? You know, it's not freezing in the house. Right? It's just when you get into your lower temperatures, 70 degrees to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, you know, the good quality cabbage. My house has probably been off and on a little colder. At 60 to 65, may take 5 to 6 weeks. I'm anywhere between 70 and 60, depending on the hour of the day, how cold it is outside, you know, how much you're running the furnace. If it was in Shimei's room, it would be below 60, more than likely, on average, because I keep that room pretty cold, right? My room, my personal bedroom is also very cold. So, you know, but I don't ferment foods in my bedroom. And I do have a little bit of, like, home canning and those kind of things in there I have on a shelf, right? But other than that, most of that stuff all goes into Shimei's room. Hot pack. Bring kraut and liquid slowly to a boil in a large kitchen kettle. Stir frequently. Remove from heat. Fill jars. Don't forget they have to be sterile. So in this case, I'm going to wash them, and then I'm gonna put them in the oven, and I'm gonna leave them there for a half an hour at 250. Okay, and that will sterilize the jars, right? They're, you know, jars that I haven't quite used, so I'll just give them a quick wash, and I'll do it that way. I'm not in the mood to be boiling jars right now for 15 minutes. Although I could, but I might. Depends. I have to do dishes and clear off the counter and clear off the stove, and yeah, I wasn't planning on doing this today, but I just kind of want to move on with things. Already warned Andre that he's going to start churning that butter and that little churn, that whipping cream and that little churner to make butter. So we'll probably get him doing that today as I'm working on canning this sauerkraut, okay? And then in my travels over the next month or so, as the weather is warming up, I'll look for more cabbage and I'll try it again. And I might even try one to spice out. And then my son is he's gonna take on the task of learning how to ferment kimchi, being that he likes to buy that and eat it, right? So it only benefits him for him to learn how to do it. And just what I've seen with these two crocks in terms of, you know, the one that I'm basically giving it to him, right? If I ever need it, I know where to borrow it, right? You know, the one that I'm giving him, right, that is the better quality crock in terms of fermenting foods, in my opinion, at this point. I haven't been that successful with this water fermenter yet. Although I do think it's important that you always keep water within that rim. That for sure. And of course, it talks about that scum, that little white scum, right, which is a yeast that it draws in from the air, okay? But I think when the whole thing starts to get really cloudy, although, like I said, after I emptied everything out and, you know, there was this much of cabbage, like that's a lot of cabbage, right? You know, you smell it. It smells okay, but, you know, it's worm food right now, that one. It's a 1/2 inch headspace for canning. So your liquid has to come up to at least a 1/2 inch on the jar. right? So that's why you want to make sure you have that little extra brine just in case, right? And even if you don't use it all, you can cool it down and put it in the fridge and then maybe start using it with something else, add in more salt, whatever, I don't know. Maybe I'll do shredded carrots or something, I'll see. And it just says 10 minutes. Process for 10 minutes in a water boiling bath. So I'd probably do mine for 15, although they got quarts at 15. Because another 5 minutes ain't going to kill it, right? I don't think so. In terms of pushing out liquid and... I don't know. So that's what we're going to do today. Right? Hold on. Okay, so I'm just going to take this now. I took out the top layer leaves. Now, it smells kind of the same, right? Minus the mold. Okay? And that mold was only on the top, but because it was a strong smell, I just, whatever. It's good for the yard. And as you can see, it is kind of cloudy, but I guess that's, you know, it's fine. Right? It was nice and clear. It's just because I'm starting to move things around. Now I'm going to taste a piece. Okay?
It's time to get in church. Shamik said we are happy, but I can't tell. But Chris is laughing. Girl, I'm happy. Leave me alone.
It's okay.
I'm happy.
It's not extremely strong, but it will do. Right? I'm going to do it again. Maybe next time I'll put some spices in it. I don't know. I'm going to do this off and on for a few times. I'm just trying to find a place for this. Oh boy. I go through this all the time, don't I? Hold on a minute, man. Okay, I don't think that's going to move. I moved some things in there when they did the lights, and God forbid if that falls in the camera. It might. Once I start moving around, I'm a little concerned about it.
I can read without my glasses. I think because
so anyway,
I stayed with my
I think I can just take this whole thing. Now, it's been over a week since I seen that.
I wish I could make them bigger.
Optometrist. No referrals coming yet, people. He said he was gonna. He said that the person that I gave the number for, my landlord's eye specialist, doesn't specialize in glaucoma. So there's only so many doctors that specialize in glaucoma, but only so many of those doctors are going to take people like me that are on income assistance and aren't paying full price through that medical plan. So anyway, all I know is my eyes are getting worse, and I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait for, but besides that point, but I think when they start doing cataracts and all this other crap, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this stuff because it's a lot of lifting. Right, and lifting, puts strain on my eyes. Hey, I feel it, right? So anyway, we're gonna lift up this big ass crock pot. It's heavy. It's heavy when there's nothing in it. And we're just gonna start pouring it in. Oh God, I don't want it to. I don't want it to all just splash out, which it kind of did. Oh. It smells like sauerkraut. It's just not like the kind that you buy in a grocery store, that's all. So you only bring it to a boil. You start it on low. You don't want to burn it, right? And then once it's boiling, you put it into sterilized jars now. Anyway, I've been doing this for years and years and years and years, right? As if I don't know. Right? I Google putting jars in oven, blah, blah, blah. You know, I've done it, people. 250, put my jars in the oven, and they can sit like that all day. I have never had a problem with my jars cracking or any of that. The only time a jar would crack would be in a pressure canner or even in a water bath where the lid was on too tight and the air couldn't escape, right? Outside of that, I've never had a jar crack because I've had them in the oven for any length of time at 250, right, after they've been sterilized or to sterilize them, right? So,
thanks to outdoor, your name, very unique gas. Yes, it is.
I don't know how many jars I've got here going.
Contagious. They don't want me to laugh though.
Right.
They mad at me.
So.
He said I'm glad Coco told that fool not to use pH sauce. My head, she's absolutely doing. Yeah, that's doing too much.
Salty. The more you get to the bottom, the saltier it got.
As one of your.
I'm gonna mix it around.
Super chat names. Why would you do that? To me, it seems like she's more obsessed with the
I don't think I'm gonna have enough liquid.
She could have used "I came in peace" for one of hers. Ain't that's her favorite thing to say? I came in peace.
I don't know. All my.
How you come in peace? And you doing something like that?
I've been doing all this stuff and doing all these jars, and it took me forever to find another jar of that coconut butter for Amari because I went through that other one really fast. What I've been doing has been like really working with him with his bowel movements so far. Touch wood. And so this is good. But I haven't been using this for about a week and a half because I ran out, right? No, but I found it today because now I'm looking for salt. Right? Himalayan salt, nothing more, nothing less. And you think I can find the one jar that I have it in? No. No. And these other ones, I don't know. I would think that's. So I guess I'll just have to use that one. I don't think it's mixed up. I think it's just normal Himalayan salt because you don't want the one with the iodine in it, right? Or with the caking agents, right? And a long time ago, I mixed Himalayan salt with salt that had, I guess, iodine in it. And I didn't label the container, so I'm like, you know, I have to be careful what salts I use in here. So anyway, I'm going to do 1 quart to 1.5 teaspoons of salt in a separate pot, bring that to a boil, and then I'm going to fill up my jars. I've got, I think, 9 jars right now in the canner. I boiled them. I boiled them. But apparently, what I was reading, you know, they said because you're going to be water bathing for 10 minutes anyway, all you really needed to do was have your jars clean, quote unquote, and then when you put them in the canner, water bath or pressure canner, right? After that 10 minutes of vigorous boiling, you know, right? It's sterile, but in a situation when I do juice, and I can it at 190, or if I do pickles and I can it at 190 to bring it to that pasteurized, right? And you hold it. And I do my juice jars for like, I think 30 minutes or something at 190. In a situation like that, you definitely want your jars sterilized, right? So anyway, I did boil them in water for, I don't know, 15 minutes or whatever it was. And so I've got 9 jars there. So we'll start with the 9 jars, you know, get them ready, right? Top them off with a bit of brine if you need it, which it looks like I'm going to. And I don't know yet. We'll see. And I would think you'd have to do that, right? And then in the canner for 10 minutes. So I'm going to try that. And then we're going to see about making butter. Hold on. So that's actually not too bad, considering all things said here. All right. And I didn't really need that quart of water, quote unquote. Because what happens is when you heat up the cabbage, yeah, I know, you're kind of killing off a little bit of those probiotics, but, you know, we want this for when the shit hits the fan, right? Okay? Because it's very, very high in vitamin C. So it will prevent scurvy if for some reason we go into famine. And we're not sure what our governments are doing yet. Okay? I tend to think that for a large portion of the population, it's going to get pretty rough over the next several years. So that's why I do this 1 or 2 more times, assuming that I can see. Because that's how it's getting to be. Yeah. It's advanced glaucoma, and it's happening fast. Like, really fast. This light with the LED, it will probably instigate it. Because I go to sleep and I get up. I can tell that it got worse. Right? But what am I going to do? I won't know until after I have the, I guess, the cataract surgery, assuming that they can do it. I don't know. And glasses. But there's all this other shit going on, right? With the ringing in the ears and the pressure in the head. And, you know, that never went away. And lifting heavy things puts strain on my eyes. And with the Mari now getting heavier, you know, that's a daily grind there. And when I do stuff like this, it doesn't help. Then I'll be getting into the yard. I don't know, people. So I'll just do until I can't do anymore. Because I can't see that good. Right? It's not as clear as I'd like it to be. And if I go out in the yard and I get shot up with those energy weapons, oh my God. So not looking forward to that. Because you know they're out there. Right? So I'll show you. So I got most of it done. I only got a little teeny weeny bowl left. I'm going to scratch my throat. It's sour. Between the burners. See? Just a little bit left. Look at all that. And I'm eating it. So 1/2 inch. So this one, when your vegetables are heated up, right? They, what do you call it? They release a little more liquid. So before you put your lids on, top it off as it drops. Don't forget to debubble. Hold on. See? 1/2 inch to the rim, right? Okay, so I'm kind of tired here. So those are done. Right? They're popping right now. So 9 jars. I'm happy with that, and I'll do it again. Anyway, this is this butter churner, but I'm not doing that just yet. Right? Because I've got a few of these to do. So I'm just going to start doing it like this and see what we get. Alright. Okay? And we're going to make butter. Okay, as you can see, I'm just doing. I just added 1/2 more of this one. Alright, and I'm just going to turn up this little more. Alright, and then we're probably going to do it again after I get this into butter. Okay, as you can see, I should have known better, right? So I have to take some out. Okay, so I scooped it back in there. It seems to be doing okay. And then you have to take it off the sides, right? This is like getting into really heavy whipped cream. If there was sugar in this, oh man, it would be so tasty. I'll make some later. Stay focused, right? We're going to make another batch of ghee. Not clarified butter. We're going to take it just a little past clarified butter. Okay? This one is made with whipping cream, right? You're making your own butter first, and then you're going to cook it up into ghee. And then I'm going to can it. Okay? That's what I'm going to do. And then I've got more blocks of unsalted butter, so I'm just going to get on with it as fast as I can and try and do that this week as well. And then at some point I'll probably do this again with that, right? Because this is supposed to be the one that tastes the best. So I don't know. We'll find out. You just got to keep on doing it until it starts to separate, right? And it starts the buttermilk will separate. I don't know, from the butter, I guess. And then when it really comes together into a ball, which is going to be difficult on the heater heads, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Hold on. Oh yeah, you know how old this blender is? I bought this when Brooks was a baby, like 35 years old. I think Brooks is older than that. I bought it around that time. So it's got to be over 30 years old anyway, 30, 35 years old. I hardly ever used it. So it's starting to look a little different now. Right, it's going to start separating, I would think, soon. This is taking a little longer than I expected, but that's okay. Like, you know, first time I've done this, making butter with, yeah, it's starting to get runny now. Now you're starting to separate the solids from the butter fat. The buttermilk, I should say. But it's not like the buttermilk that you buy in a carton in a store. It's a sweet buttermilk, and you can use it for baking. I'm going to attempt to freeze mine because apparently it doesn't store in the fridge for any more than a couple of days. And I'm not in the mood to be baking right now, people. So I'm going to see if I can... Oh boy, it's starting to splatter around. I'm going to see if I can... Oh boy. Oh, it's starting to splatter now. Oh, starting to splatter. Getting in my mouth. Oh boy. Hold on. Done. Okay, so as you can see, tell me what I'm doing. I am. Oh boy. So what are you even doing? Well, I'm making butter. So we're separating the, you can hear the liquid. Obviously, I started covering everything up. Right? So what you want to do is, I guess in a situation like this, you can turn it down, right? And then, yeah, this bowl wants to fly. Holy shit. Oh my god. This stuff is flying all over the place. I don't like this. Yeah, it's flying over on me. Oh my lord. Look at that. Oh my god. This is gooey. Oh. Whoa. Oh boy. So, what you want is you want to keep doing that until it all comes together. You don't want to overdo it, but you don't want to underdo it, apparently. So, I don't know if that's looking like... That does not look like butter. It is butter, though. Look.
It kind of looks like it, but
it's butter. No, I think we're at the stage where it's pretty much butter. Yeah, that's butter. It's just it's hard for it to come together. So I think we're good. So what we're gonna do? unplug it before you start mucking around with it, right? So
Yeah, you don't want to cut your finger off.
it's because I'm going to be cooking this anyway, right? I don't know if I'm going to do it tonight. I might. We'll see.
Okay, let's get into
Because I got other things to do and I just want to get on with it, right? So, for what it's worth, it's just a matter of getting jars ready.
Yep.
And then it goes, this one goes in the pressure canner now, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is pretty good.
It's a big piece of butter.
Well, it's a fair amount of whipping cream, and I'm going to do it again after I go rinse this off and take out all the buttermilk. Right?
Buttermilk?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Well, this is like a buttermilk in here. Only not like the kind that the grocery stores make. You could freeze it and use it for cooking muffins and pancakes and stuff. So maybe I'll put a little bit in the... So there's our first batch of butter.
Speaking about muffins, I'm gonna make some. Use up that powder.
Well, then you could use this liquid for that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is... here's a bowl. You go take it to the sink, and then you go wash it, rinse it out, right? Squeeze it until you don't see any of this clear liquid. So you can turn it off. Okay, so you don't have to do this extremely on high speed. Obviously, I overfilled it again, so towards the end, when the butter starts to, come together, and then you got all the buttermilk splashing around, well, whatever. Right? I haven't taken any out yet. Right? I'm just watching it, see. If you turn it off, right, it drops a bit, and then you can start again. Because you have to remember, if you were using this thing, you're not really going at an extremely high speed, right? So it's the fact that it's being agitated, I think, is what matters here. It takes a while, right, for it to change, and when it changes quite quickly, like when you're making ghee, right? So, just keep an eye on it, I guess. Okay, so that's only like when the hydro goes out, okay, and you're having fun with the kids or something, or maybe you want to do it just a small batch. Obviously, I'm doing another batch, a big batch. Now I have 2 more of these in the fridge from March 9th, I think. They're more than likely okay. So after I'm done this, I'm going to open them up and I'm going to smell them, right? I know all about cream. And I will probably do another bowl, right? And then after that, rinse it, right, whatever. And then I'm going to come in here after I'm done doing what I'm done. And I'm going to take these little wood paddles and I'm going to try and squeeze out a bit of the water. But it's not going to really matter too much because I'm going to be cooking it anyway and cooking off the water. Otherwise, you'd have to take out all the water, because if you don't take out the water, for the most part, I guess the butter can spoil faster, right? But because I'm going to be cooking with it right away and cooking off the water, I'm not too worried about it. But in this situation, when I did this before, you can see it's starting to thicken up, right? Then that's because I took some out, right? I wanted to turn up the speed a little bit, just to speed it up, right? So I'm going to speed it up a little bit, and then as it gets thicker, I just add it in. That's what I did with the last one, and it worked out okay. It did what it was supposed to do. I was showing you, right? So, just do, right? And I'm not going to salt it, right? So I'm going to try and catch it when it starts looking like olive oil, right? I'm not going to give it that extra 5 minutes, because I think that 5 minutes that I was giving it last time was when I was supposed to turn it off. Because it wasn't even 5 minutes before that did whatever it did when it started to go dark. But it's still good. right? So there, you see? Now I don't have to worry about it rising so much as it's thickening, right? So now I can put the rest of this in. All right, I'll take the spatula to it, so hold on. Okay, so third batch. Now I don't wash this bowl, okay? I just make the butter, take it out, and pour the, they call it buttermilk, but anyway, you can see how much I have now. Apparently you can drink it. Doesn't taste like buttermilk though, but you can see that it's actually quite creamy, really, if you look at it. I'm going to end up freezing this more than likely in jars. I'll put them in Auntie Shemai's fridge, right? It tastes like milk, people. The reason I'm freezing it though is because it doesn't stay in the fridge any more than a day or two, maybe 3 at best if you're lucky. Okay, before it will start to go sour. So, I don't want to waste it, right? You're paying like, what is it? $7.99 now, I think. Right? $6.99, $7.99, $8.99 for a pound of butter, and you're paying $6.99 to $7.99 for these things, depending on what store you go to. Right? That's a lot of money, and that was like 3 weeks ago. I'm sure if I was to go to the store, it'd be more expensive. And I'll probably do this again, right? Just because I want to have it in my pantry, people. You know, the economy, like, I don't know, something's going to happen here. Apparently Russia is setting up their nukes. They're setting them up. I just found a big roll of gray tape. I got this one. You see? And I just was in there putting some, you know, speaker wires away. And I came across another one. And I'm putting it downstairs with those blankets that I just washed. Yeah. Yeah. I'm taking some candles down there. I'll take a roll, an unopened roll. I've got this one here. So if I need to start doing whatever, I know where I've got plastic. Right? Like, seriously. I don't know. So you just got to keep doing this, just in case. Now there's a little bit left over. Now this one was from March 7th. The other one was March 8th. But they're fine, okay? Because, you know, they're fine. So this one I'm going to make actual whipping cream with sugar in it. Or maybe I'll cook up some potatoes with some onions and I'll make a nice creamy sauce. I'm not sure yet. Right? Right? I don't have anything to start. I mean, I could sit there and just, with the kids, eat whipping cream with sugar. That'd be so good. But, and then the bowl that I use to transfer the butter in, I do wash this bowl, and then I take it to the sink. You're not supposed to use warm water, because if it's too warm, it will melt the butter. If it's too cold, it's going to get too hard too fast. So it's kind of got to be kind of like room temperature, but you don't really, especially if you're going to be cooking it up like I am, right? And then I've got these little paddles, you know, so like you have to rinse out the whey, right? This buttermilk or whatever it's called. You have to rinse it out, right? So you know, a few times, and so I do clean this when I do that. Because by the time you're done, it's all greasy, right? And then I've got the two of them in the fridge right now. And then after I'm done this one, I'll put this one in the fridge. Then I'm going to go jar hunting. I'm probably going to can pint-sized jars this time of ghee. Right? I don't even know if I have too many half pints. But when you're using it, you know, you use it, right? You know, so a pint-sized jar is better than a half pint if you're using it like, you know, using it, right? Because you put it into your frying, you fry, and then you add a little more, and, you know, and if you're using it regularly, a half a pint won't last very long. So I'm going to probably attempt to do that size. And then this, well, I'll just see what I can find in terms of jars, and I'll just freeze, right? And then I'll cook with it. Because it tastes like milk, only it's creamier. Right? If I was to get, as a matter of fact, I could probably give some of that to Amari in a bottle. He'd love it because it's like rich milk. So, yeah, Russia is setting up their nuclear missiles. They're positioning them. And that Epic Economic, who does his reporting, you know, he talks about the food chain and, you know, how it just, the whole system is collapsing. The whole system. So that's not going to, you know, right now people can still go to the grocery store and, for the most part, and find what they need, and, you know, if they can't find it in one store, they can go to another store, and, you know, it's probably going to be like that for a while, but I don't know. I suspect things are going to change over the next year, if not sooner. And you know, if I got to hunker down in the basement, man, I don't know. I never thought it would happen in my lifetime, that's for sure. But we'll see. So I'll show you where I'm at when I'm done this. Okay, I'm crashing here, people. My landlady called. Asked for that guy's number next door. Okay. The owner of that house next door. You see, these guys, they're like fucking mean out here, okay? Can you please be quiet? Yeah. I mean it. Like, they're fucking mean out here, okay, people? Andre says, Nana, that pear tree's dead. I said, oh, yeah, no kidding. It didn't do nothing last year because that fucking guy over there, he just cut it in half. And it's just died. That thing used to produce pears like this, people. Okay? We're talking bowls and bowls and bowls full, right? And he just cut the tree completely in half because he didn't... You see, all these landlords out here, I don't know, like, they mow the lawn and, you know, they do yard work. Not my landlords, though, right? Okay, fine, no problem, whatever. I've been doing what I'm doing. I told you, this year, as blind as I am, as foggy as it is, I'm going to do as much as I can, and I'm going to be done with it, people. That's it. Right? Last year, I did food. My landlady went to India. We know that, right? She got back, and she said to me, she said, I hadn't put my check in for rent for March. Can I do that too? And I said, of course, your rent is there. So she got double rent, right? Because she was away. And, like, I know it doesn't seem like much, but, like, this fucking guy over here, people, he was running a shack for a year and a half. Okay, now I didn't say anything because my own daughter was addicted to drugs, and, you know, I've gone out and worked with homeless people that are addicted to drugs, and, you know, I work on a foundation that's supposed to help people, whether they're addicted to drugs or not, doesn't matter, you don't discriminate, right, you know, blah, blah, blah. I went and got that little house over there. Oh, it was only temporary because they were going to tear it down and build a monster house, right? You know, and I told them, well, I'm going to be renting it to homeless people that in those days were sleeping in tents in the freaking middle of fucking winter, okay? And Sierra was one of them, right? You know, and she didn't even have a tent. Okay? Got videos on that, people. So I rented the house, and, you know, I mean, as soon as the people started moving in, they were running like petty game, you know, and demanding this and demanding that, and didn't want this, and then moving in people, and just I had to kick out people, and man, it just turned into a freaking shack, right? And it was a mutiny. It turned into a mutiny. They kicked me out of my own fucking house. They ended up even kicking out Sierra people, and they lived there right to the bitter end. I was there to the bitter end, people, after those ones that caused all the trouble moved out, stole the wash machine, stole the dryer, you know, all this other shit. I was in there with Wesley and Tanya. I think her name was Tanya. And, you know, we were trying to salvage the vinyl siding, and I tried to sell it, didn't work. So, I tried to hire those guys, those young men, you know, just came in, you know, going to school, right? I was willing to pay out at least $500 between the two of them just to, right? Because, you know, never happened because they weren't allowed to work. They weren't allowed to work, right? You know, and I did all that food. So I didn't have to worry, you know, in terms of, I'm good, right? You know, got my rent covered, basically got my bills covered. You know, I've been juggling them for the last couple of months because I overspent, but whatever. You know, I'm good now for the most part. I'm at the tail end of things, winding down, you know, finishing up on a few things, right? Nothing like it was last year, hardcore every day. Like, it killed me, right? In the dark, in this house, under these bright lights, or it's dark. It's a very dark house. Right, in general, you know, and so anyway, you know, my eyes deteriorating more and more, right, working harder and harder, you know, and this guy over here, like, he wants to buy the house. The guy over there next to this house over there, that's, you know, 2 houses down with duplex, he wants to buy the house. This guy is, like, badgering my landlady all the time to buy this fucking house and to kick me out. All these fucking owners want to kick me out, people, so they can buy this house, right? Say, rent it for $4,000, $4,500 because of the yard. I can guarantee you that, right? Because of the greenhouse, right? And just the sheds that I built and the whole 9 yards, right? You know, I had my landlord's son fucking hollering and screaming at me. I feel like I got shot up with fucking energy weapons because when I came in, everything was so cloudy, people. Honest to God, it was so cloudy for 4 hours. 4 hours. I could barely see in my own fucking house from all that, whatever was going on out there on that day. And so, you know, I'm having bad dreams. My son is having bad dreams. You know, I'm waking up on the verge of crying. My son is like watching me drop from a heart attack, you know, and then he's freaking doing CPR on me. Like, what the fuck? This is no way to live. Anyway, she calls me up. And don't forget, this guy running the fucking shack for 1.5 years, people. Okay? Cops are involved with this crap out here. I'm telling you. They did their little gong show raid. Nobody got busted. You know, people at the shack were asking me if anyone got busted over there. I said, as far as I know, no, I didn't. No, they didn't. No, nobody. I never, you know, right? Because, you know, those ones over, because they were 2 groups that were different. But yet everybody was getting along. But that group was suspicious of this group because this group got raided, supposedly. That's when I had Tanya's dog. If I wouldn't have had that dog that day, people, that dog would have been shot dead, okay? But for whatever reason, I had that dog and I had him locked up. I had her locked up in Mr. Lace's cat house. And thank God I did, because that was, you know, that was a big ass dog, right? And that dog, when the cops started blowing out the windows with the smoke bombs and with their SWAT team and all this other shit, that dog just went crazy. But it was locked up, so it never did get shot, okay? This is this fucking owner over here, okay? Anyway, they end up moving, whatever, you know, like, didn't bother me, you know, just whatever. I have my own problems with my own daughter, and, you know, I've been trying to help fucking with the situation for years, but, you know, I don't get a lot of help with the foundation, people. Because there's too much money, poverty pimping the poorest of the poor, whether through prostitution, whether through the drugs, whether through snuff movies, or what, illegal organ harvesting, just the whole 9 yards, okay? Anyway, he was supposed to replace all the drywalls and all that crap in there because, you know, it was a shack, right? He never did, people. He never fucking did. I know that for a fact because it's the same crap on the walls that the Koreans put on there. It's the same. They never changed nothing. The city let him get away with it. And then he turned around and instead of renting to somebody that was born in this country, he rented it to a family of 7, 2 adults and children on federal subsidies and provincial subsidies to make his $2,000 for a 2-bedroom upper floor. But he classified it as a 3-bedroom because the Koreans built a sunroof that goes like this. That's what I mean. And so he's been badgering my landlady ever since he bought that place to kick me out. Literally, that's what my landlady tells me. He's always telling me to kick you out. He'll rent it out for more money and he'll take care of it for me, and, or he'll want to buy the house. I mean, like, no wonder why I have bad dreams, people. Like, seriously, I have never had so many fucking bad dreams, waking up crying or on the verge of crying, than I have since I lived in this house. Now, I know I have to get outside, but it's been cold, people, and for the last couple of weeks, I have been so tired. So tired. But I'm trying to keep, you know, a steady pace is when I can. And, you know, I'm going to get out there in the yard. But she called me up and I said, you know, she asking me for this dude's number. And I'm like, well, I don't have it right now. I'll have to look for it because I moved it, right? I just came across it when I was clearing off my desk a couple of weeks ago. So I knew it was over there, but I was in the middle of blending that butter, right? So it's not like I could just go looking for piece of paper, right? So anyway, I ended up finding it and I called her back and I said, well, why? Why? Right? You know, like, why? Does he have somebody to rent this place out for $4,500 and he wants her to know the good news so that she can make plans to kick me out? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you know, why should I even have to worry about this month after month after fucking month, people? And that's the thing. It's not like I can pick up and go rent another house because the corruption within the housing market is so systemic that there is nothing to rent unless you want to give your blood for it. And you know what? It kind of boils down to that because for families like mine, that's what ends up happening. Shimei gave her blood. Sierra gave her blood. Uncle John gave his blood. Amari gave blood. Right? Every time I have a fucking bad dream, I'm bleeding out. Okay? Now Marcane's having bad dreams with me dying. Well, practically dying. He's not around me that much, people. He's really not. So I don't know if I have a heart attack where he's going to be. It will only be by chance that he's there. Because I very seldom see him. It's the fact that I'm being hounded by vipers in the neighborhood that are so money fucking hungry that, you know, it's just like, they don't help with the nonprofit. Literally, people, they don't. They don't care. That's why one reason the nonprofit never fucking went anywhere in 21 years. Because I've been in the heart of a Punjabi community that basically sees me as inferior, insignificant, a pest. Something to use and abuse, and when you're done, just get rid of it. Like that tree. That dude there just cut it in half and killed it. He didn't care about the pears that it produced. All he cares about is money. Money, money, money. Same thing with that thing next door. It's all about money. So now I'm wondering. I'm waiting for it again, people. So if I die, it's because of this fucking stress, okay? Seriously. That's where it's coming from. Anyway, I am not going to do this ghee tonight because I want to cry. Why are we not surprised? This is the first 2 batches. You can see that's a fair amount. Okay? This one was the one from March. Now, as it was blending, normally, if it goes into a month in the container, I cook with it. I make potatoes, and then I fry onions, and then I put cream in the pan. I bring it to a boil, bring it to a boil. I boil it for a bit, and then I throw the potatoes in, and I thicken it up, and it's really, really good. Okay? So, it was a little off, but not off. Okay? But it wasn't as fresh as this one. Okay? So, I have 2 choices. I can blend them together, and it is what it is, right? Or I can cut these into, or maybe I can, I don't know if I don't know where my ice cube trays are. I could probably put them into muffin tins, just little balls or something on a tray, and freeze them, and then I can cook with them as I need them. Okay? It tastes like butter. The buttermilk with this one, I just poured down the drink. The other one, from this one, I put 3 jars at 1 pint in the freezer, and I'm freezing them. Hopefully my jars won't crack, but there's nothing on them, so they shouldn't. And then I already gave Amari a small bottle, and he loved it. So, from this one though, I just tossed it, right? Because it wasn't as fresh. However, this is probably perfectly fine to cook up and make ghee with. But I'm so upset. Like, it doesn't take much to trigger me and put me in complete freaking fear. Okay? Because it's not like I'm dealing with fucking nice people here, okay? You know? I mean, it's bad when your neighbors, and they're not even your neighbors, they're just the owners of these houses that exploit people, basically, for every penny that they can get. Okay? And the only thing that they want is to kick you out so that they can make more money. So they can run around in their fucking fancy cars and brag on about what monster home they live in and what they've got and what they've got and what they've got and what they've got. And because they've got so much, they're so much better than everybody else. They don't care who they hurt, how they hurt them. And I've been under that stress for a long fucking time. And I tell you, I don't deal with it that well anymore. I really don't. You know, because now I'm fucking petrified. I'm like fucking petrified. I tried to have a good day. And now I'm fucking petrified. And this is no way to live. But I'm still trapped. Okay? I'm still fucking trapped. That's the thing. Okay, so I'm ending this video. it is what it is. All right. And then it's been raining all day. So if it gets like heavy tonight, oh my God, people. Oh my God.